Next, speaking for us, we have Anna Ratanaprux, who is coming to us from college today. I think, Anna, you're working remotely, right, for school, but she did grow up in the Triangle area. So she competed in science fair in our Region 3A. She grew up in Morrisville. She is a recent graduate of Wake STEM Early College and also the online program at NCSSM. So that's the School of Science and Math in North Carolina. As a child, Anna was very interested in the arts and humanities and didn't really like science and math. And she thinks that disinterest was based on just not really having an understanding of all that STEM can entail. And specifically in her brain, she kind of thought of STEM as robotics and microscopes and things like that. As a young adult entering college at Columbia, her interests have evolved significantly. And so now she's interested in engineering fields, particularly materials science, applied mathematics, and industrial engineering.
Um, so hi everyone. I'll share my talk and then I have some pictures afterwards. But as the intro just said, my name is Anna. I'm 19. I'm currently my first year of college. Usually I would be going to campus in Columbia, which is in New York City, but right now I'm on Zoom, like a lot of you guys, and I'm studying operations and industrial engineering. And like the intro said, I grew up in North Carolina, so I did science fairs pretty much growing up in grade school every year, and I loved it, and I can't tell you how much I miss doing that now that I'm in college. It's not the same at all. So today I wanted to talk to you about dreams, and I know all of you have dreams. Whether you want to be a doctor when you grow up, you want to travel somewhere, you want to win something, or you want to become better at a hobby. When I was younger, my dream was to make a one of a kind scientific discovery. I wanted to be like Newton, and discover gravity, or maybe Tony Stark and create my own Iron Man suit. However, I didn't like sciences at first, like Teresa said. I really despised it, but this dream of mine in participating in science fairs really encouraged me to keep pursuing learning and trying science. And um, through this, I was able to, reach my dream. Maybe I didn't become Newton, but I did get to make my contribution to science. And the road was tricky, but as you pursue learning, I wanted to give you some reassurance and inspiration and encourage you to continue your participation in science fairs throughout the years. So, when achieving our dreams, and in this case, our science dreams, we start small. But this doesn't mean we are any less resourceful, less impactful, or any less scientific. When we start small, we don't have a lot to work with, and it feels as if we cannot compete with others because we don't have the resources. So, for instance, most of us don't just have satellites and microscopes in our homes to pull out and do a cool science project on. And I always felt that to do proper science, you had to have this sort of advanced equipment. But through my journey in science fairs, I learned that this was not the case, and so many successful science fair projects were done without these sort of instruments. Science done in the kitchen is just as high quality and allows for us to be creative in how we use our resources. In middle school and early high school, all of my projects were done in the kitchen. I took over the entire dining room to the point where you couldn't see the table or the floor, and this is true with papers and all my materials. And my mom did not like that too much, but I felt that my research was less than because other students who had done it, in school or they had their own labs, and mine was just done in my kitchen. But later I realized that it made it even more special, and like I said, it showed my creativity because I didn't have my own equipment, so I had to make my own instruments and measurement tools out of homemade items like paper, kitchen utensils, spoons, and everything, and plates and cardboard. And so by creating something complex out of something simple, it was able to show your resourcefulness. And so never feel bad that you did your research in your kitchen or at home or in your backyard, or that you made your materials at home, because it just goes to show your ingenuity. Along with these feelings of not feeling resourceful enough, I also felt like my science projects were never impactful. After all, my early projects were about slime, bread, olive oil, and origami, and so I didn't see how that was helping the world at all. I wanted to find something big and amazing, like a cure for cancer or discover a new element on the periodic table, and olive oil and slime were nowhere near close to that. But through my journey of science and completing these projects was when I learned how impactful they were in their own sort of way. So they might not have saved the world, from COVID-19, but they did impact people in a small way because I was contributing to the greater field of science, though it might be small. So, for instance, in middle school, I developed a way to test the quality of olive oil using a homemade spectrometer. For those who wanted to explore olive oil or pursue science at home or with limited resources, this was super impactful because it showed them that science could be done in this way. So maybe 1,000 people weren't saved, but it may have inspired at least one person to pursue and become interested in learning. And I think that is very special because it's personal and it shows your passion for a certain area. It shows that you are an expert in your area and that you made a difference in that community, whether it's proving something, trying something out, or exploring something new. And then while researching, sometimes we feel like our projects aren't scientific enough. I often felt this way because, I didn't have a degree in science. I never went to college. I was still in grade school. In my first year of high school, sometimes I felt dumb because there were other kids who had taken more chemistry and physics than I had. And, this didn't really feel like a real contribution to science because I wasn't old and I didn't have the background. But I realized that as long as I was following the scientific method and I was practicing systematic and reproducible procedures and analyzing and observing in an objective way, I was scientific, just like what our teachers teach us in school. It didn't matter that I didn't have a college diploma yet or my degree, I could still have a scientific project. What matters is the process and the scientists themselves, not the appearance of your project or the equipment. So, through all of this, I learned um, was from my experience with science fairs. I did research just about every year in my kitchen and made my own instruments, my own ideas, borrowing it from whatnot. I got tons of my supplies from the grocery store and office store. I did not have some crazy lab store. And I hope you take this insight and continue to pursue science fairs. Of course, if you have access to a lab, go for it. But just take this inspiration that, high quality research can be done at your home. And so, as cheesy as it sounds, science fairs did change my life. As I did research in middle school and high school, I had the opportunity to travel the world. So, for example, with my research in origami, I won a trip to Beijing and I went to Arizona, DC, and Texas to present and compete with my work. Here I thought origami was dumb, but it took me super far and I met the coolest scientists and made great friends and I even met Nobel Prize laureates. But I think the biggest gain through it all was teaching me the lessons of never doubting my project, never doubting where I came from, or never doubting, where I did this and how I learned. I learned to have confidence in myself and how to find answers scientifically. So that's a wrap of my talk, but I thought I'd just give you quick photos just so you know what I'm talking about, proof that I was a real student. Um, Screen share. So here's my kitchen. It's way cleaner in this picture, but when I was a kid, it was covered in stuff. I had like all kinds of lab stands and there's paper everywhere. And when I tested olive oil, I had like maybe 30 bottles of olive oil. I had bought so many samples to do olive oil. So, just tell your mom and your dad it's temporary and I will clean it up after. This is me in eighth grade with my olive oil project. These are just select pictures. I have too many, and I couldn't find the special ones of me working in the kitchen. This is when I went to DC to present my research at a really cool conference. Um, this is I went to ISEF. This is my project on origami. Um, and then some more origami projects when I was a senior, but sadly this didn't really go anywhere because of COVID. But it was still really fun, I think, to talk to people and meeting people. And so I always encourage you to do science fairs. Of course, it's fun to win, but I think just the process of meeting judges and learning how you can improve and become inspired and have new dreams is always important.